Hey guys, and welcome back. It's time to jump into one of my favorite, most commonly used blending modes. It's called the multiply blending mode. Now, if you're going to make things darker, you want this layer to darken things underneath it, most of the time I suggest using a multiply blending mode. And here's how it works. It actually multiplies the light levels in your layers. So if you have a layer where it's got a lot of light and a lot of light, it's going to multiply those two together and you're still going to get light. But if you have a dark area and a dark area, it multiplies those two together and it makes it even darker. So with multiply, just like everything else in the darken group, white is going to be completely invisible. White will not show up, and anything darker than that continues to multiply darker and darker and darker. So the darker things become even darker and lighter things are invisible. So let's go ahead and show you guys how to use the multiply blend mode. So here in our sample images, let's go to chapter 3, section 4, multiply, and open these up. So we've got basically a really similar example to what we had with our darken group, or our darken blending mode rather. Let's grab our move tool, and I'm going to shift click and drag from one to another. Now let's see, just to compare the two, let's just go to our darken blend mode. So you can see with our darken blend mode, literally everything that is darker on the underlying layer, you can see like some dark areas on the rocks, this is just not showing up. It's just showing up in the lighter areas. Now let's change this to multiply, and you can see that it takes all of your luminance levels and multiplies them together. So you have a much more natural transition. You know, this, which you get something like this, it's just not, that doesn't look photorealistic, right? To multiply, and your transition looks much more natural. So again, this is the most commonly used tool for darkening, blending mode. Now let's go ahead and just stretch this out because it's just a little bit too big. So, or it wasn't, these clouds on the bottom here, I don't want them to be visible. So let's go ahead and just stretch that out. Something like this, you can kind of bring that up and down. That looks pretty good there. Now I'm just going to pop a layer mask on here and then use just like a super large brush to paint black on my layer mask, and that's just going to help it fade out from the bottom. And there we go. We'll just fade it right up here so it'll give a nice natural transition. You could use a gradient tool if you wanted to as well. I'm just using my just a really big brush. Okay, so we get a really nice transition from light to dark, and here we have it. So just a really great practical example of how to use the multiply blend mode to, in this case, take a sky that didn't have a ton of detail, didn't have a ton of color, and here we just multiplied this other sky on top of it. So we have all the color of the original, including going down to the yellow, and we still have the detail of the layers underneath. So if you want to make things darker, most of the time you're going to be using the multiply blend mode. Now in our next video, we're going to go over color burn, which makes things even darker than multiply and more saturated. So we'll see you guys in the next one.